Okay, well, Veterans Day week is sort of, well, this is the Friday Veterans Day week, kind of coming to an end. My visit's got a few more days. It's been really great staying with Sean up here and Sean and Liz up here in Tacoma Park is absolutely wonderful. Peace and quiet and all that other kind of stuff, really great. Veterans Day, I've been leading up to Veterans Day because I got in sort of the weekend or the week before. Uh, been visiting everywhere. I've been doing well. I'd like the folks back in Thailand to get a chance to see the museums and stuff here. Been to National Geographic. Went over to the National Zoo. Hadn't been there in years and years. And it is a lovely place. I don't know what you think about zoos, but whatever the case, and they've got the new panda and all of that. But walking into the zoo, across the street from the zoo used to be a place called the Zoo Bar, strange enough. And crossing Connecticut Avenue to the zoo, I kind of looked and I didn't see it. All new storefronts. So I went, well, like so many things here, gone and one thing another. So I came out of the zoo and looked, and sure enough, there was the Zoo Bar. And Florida places like that, I really, I've stopped in a couple bars and I just don't really find them, barmaids named Dandelion and whatever and whatever and whatever and the people in there. But anyhow, I walked into the zoo bar and there was an old guy sitting at the bar and waited a couple minutes and a bartender came out named Louie. Louie was kind of bartender I remember, and the kind of bartender who could drink a pint of Bass Ale and bullshit with talk about the old days and the old bars and Mr. Egan's and one thing and another. It came to pass, we got talking about Murphy's Bar down near Calvert in Connecticut. Came to find out my bartender from 25 years ago still working there one day a week, Saturdays. So PJ was coming in to Murphy's at 6 o'clock on Saturday. So I didn't know it was Saturdays when I left there. So I had a pint of Bass with Louie and headed down to Murphy's, and there wasn't much anybody in. And walked in and ordered a pint, and a pint of Guinness appeared in front of me on the boil. Relaxed and watched it boil. It was absolutely lovely. The bar hadn't changed, even though in the other room the bar's gone. Talking to the lady, came to find out there that PJ came in at 6 o'clock, only worked Saturdays in Murphy's. So that became a very important date on my calendar. But went on, visited the Air and Space Museum, which I'll be posting pictures of and the story about. And I was in the National Gallery, was in just about a whole bunch of places anyhow. So that was that, and that was that. And then Saturday night kind of strolled in, and I was remembered and got talking with PJ, and it got crowded and crowded in there. And like he said, he's been there 26 years now, 26 years and over 1,000 waitresses in there. But it was a real good visit, and I hope, if he's working Saturday, because he said he might be doing something, and anyhow, but I'm going to go down there and catch up with him again. The old days, what happened to a lot of the old folks, where people went, retired, gone, one thing another. Then Sunday caught up with good Mr. Overby, and we ended up in a pho house up in Sandy Spring, which was a nice pho house, but once again, no Vietnamese people in there, and no Nook Mom on the table. So I guess suburban white folks aren't really into Nook Mom. But they had it when I ordered, I said, I need some Nook Maum. The guy said, what? And I said, need some Nook Maum. And the guy said, what? I guess they're not used to hearing Westerners say Nook Maum. But anyhow, I got my Nook Maum, and it was pretty decent. Matter of fact, we had a Bancio with it. And it's quite big. First time they put prawns with it. Well, the prawns were good, but not the way I was used to eating a Bancio. But anyhow, that was okay. And then Monday, I went down to Capitol Hill and stayed with an old acquaintance, Denny Lane. Denny was at one time the military attaché in Thailand, and he's old Southeast Asia hand, Cambodia, Vietnam, been through it all. So it was really great catching up with him, talking about, a lot of talk about Thailand, how things have changed, what hasn't changed. Most things aren't better, they're just changed, and things are really worse, and the economic situation for the people. And we went on. So I had a couple nice days down there, and seeing my friend Vili again, that'll be good. Maybe another visit with Sandy and Annie, and then morning of the 18th, it's back down to Clearwater, Florida. Now, Veterans Day was really amazing. Joe Galloway was doing the talk at the World War II Memorial. Somebody made the mistake of mentioning to me that World War II monument or memorial was a bit Germanic. And, sure enough, it is damn Germanic looking place. And if somebody, whipped out a Segayo and jackboots there, it really, wouldn't amaze me. And then from there, went down to the wall. And on Veterans Day, generally, there's not many tourists at the wall unless you're family of the veterans, but it's full of us guys all getting older. And there were some of the nurses up at the nurses memorial up there. Pretty full. And hopefully I've got a lead on an old friend of mine that I hadn't seen in 20-some years, Ed Henry. And hopefully I'll be catching up with him again maybe this trip. But we're all getting older. I mean, the World War II Memorial, there weren't all that many, like Joe said. Every year there's a few less. And it's sort of the same thing with us. And there's fewer and fewer every year. And we're sure as hell getting older and older. And the names we look at and the people remember on the wall, they're still young, looking back at those guys and Sheepdog and all of them. They're, they didn't have to go through this getting old stuff. But anyhow, that's a bit over time, but that's it for this week from Tom's Desk. Y'all take care. Bye.